Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another Voice Essentials live stream. I need to make an apology straight off the bat because if you were here at the very beginning, if you're watching this after the live stream, I had a bit of feedback. I apologize. If it's any consolation, I blew my own head off as well as blowing yours off. I do apologize for that. And so, yeah, that's what happens in live shows, I guess. It is so good to be with you all, and it's so good to see so many people already doing the live chat thing. Make sure that you tell us where you're from, what time it is in your part of the world. Here in Brisbane, Australia, it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a Monday afternoon, and I had a cancellation from a client, so we get to spend some time together, which is a good thing. And I just want to say a bit of a hello to to Oz Gray, who has just written in the comments section that he's lost his best friend of 25 years, and he's been grieving. And mate, we as a Voice Essentials community just want to let you know that we're sorry to hear that. And you know, grief is something that sadly in Western society we're not good at doing, and so I encourage you to take the time that you need, mate, and just, you know, have good, fond memories of the time that you did have with your friend, and I hope that over the coming months you'll be able to really reflect on your time with them in a really positive way. So Osgray, thanks for sharing that, and it is good to have you back with us here on the live show. And today what we're going to be talking about is Singers, what I've titled Singers Supplement. And it's born out of a phone call that I took last week, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. This is not an unusual phone call in the sense that I've had these phone calls many times over the last 20 years of my teaching experience. So we're going to talk about that phone call. I'll reveal all once we get going. And I've got a little bit of a photo collage that I want to share with you as well. So make sure you stick around for the live show, and we'll come back right after this.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Dan and I'm a singing voice specialist, and as I often say in many of my shows, it's my job to help you realise the full potential of your singing voice, and one of the ways we do that is with these live shows. And as you may have already noticed, if you are watching the show live currently, you'll see that there's a live chat option. And what I would love you to do during these live shows, at the end of the show, I always answer a number of questions here live. So hopefully your question will be one of the ones that we get to answer. And so make sure you type your questions in, and we'll talk about those later in the show. And of course, let us know where you're from, what the weather's like, and we here at Voice Essentials, we are a community of singers. We're not just people jumping online. We're all sort of getting to know each other, which is fabulous. And so I hope that you would consider being a part of our community if you aren't already subscribed. And be sure to hit the bell icon. I go live at least once a week. Generally it's Monday or Tuesday. But the only way for you to know when I'm going live is to hit that bell icon after you're subscribed, so that YouTube can let you know, because there's no other way to know, because I do randomly do it throughout my daytime here in Australia. And I've had a massive weekend. Well, it was a very it was a recreational weekend, which was the first I've had in a little while. I went away with my son up to a place about 2.5 hours north of Brisbane, a beach called Tiwa Beach, and I have got some photos I want to share with all of you. I hope you will just indulge me for a moment as we have a look at some of these shots. So my son is a part of Boys Brigade, and he had a father and son camp that we went to, and these are just some shots that I took. And that what we're looking at there is a place called Red Canyon, and you climb up into that, as you can see. And it was the most picture perfect weekend, just gorgeous. And you climb up to the top of these dunes, and there's my son jumping off the dunes as we speak, and a couple of mates coming down. Us old fellas did find ourselves running down the dunes, having a bit of fun. And it was such a gorgeous weekend, and I just wanted to share it with you. Share some of the shots that I was able to take. As many of you know, I am a keen amateur photographer, and I do enjoy taking photos when I go away. And so I thought, now that I do these live shows, you know, if I do have opportunity to take some semi-interesting shots, thought I'd share them with you. On to today's topic: singers supplements. So, the phone call I took last week was from a gentleman who will remain nameless. In fact, I can't even remember their name. It was not a client. It was someone who had found a product online and had been taken to my online store. And from memory, I think it was this product, Entertainer's Secret, that they had found. Or it might have been this one, Throat Coat. Anyway, we'll talk a bit more about those in a moment. And basically, he had a gig. I think it was a Thursday that he called. He had a gig that was going to be going. He was going to be gigging Saturday, and he was a little bit, hoarse and blah, blah. And he rang me in a bit of a panic, wanting to know which product was going to get him through the gig. And I'm always a little bit, because this conversation's always a very difficult conversation to have. And that is, there is no silver bullet, everyone. You know, the products that I sell on my online store, I do sell them because they are helpful, but you can't pop a pill. There is no single product that is going to make your voice sing better. It's a bit like the weight loss pill, you know, where the search for the Holy Grail, pop a pill and all your weight issues will be taken care of. It just doesn't work like that. The human body, not only when it comes to weight, but when it comes to singing, the only way to actually get to be able to manage your voice in a healthy, sustainable way is to develop a technique that underpins and undergirds your vocal development. So no matter which product you buy, from my online store or from someone else's, they are only ever complementary. They're only supplementary to what you should be doing day in, day out. Don't forget your vocal rest in amongst all of that, your vocal pacing. But, you know, it's about the long haul. So I had to say to this gentleman, well, the product that you're wanting to go, and if memory serves me right, it was this product here, Throat Coat Tea, and I do sell it online. And one of the benefits of this product is one of its main ingredients is slippery elm bark, and slippery elm is known to be a natural anti-inflammatory, but it also does create a bit of a coating as you drink it, and so it certainly has a soothing effect. And for those of you who like tea, you know, that's a good choice. I sell another tea which is called the 5 Vocal Tea, and this is the one I particularly like of this one. This is called Licorice and Peppermint. It's quite nice. It comes in another flavour. This live broadcast today is not about selling products. It's actually about telling you when should you use the product, how should you use the product, because if, in this case, this gentleman was wanting to buy the product hoping that it would get him through his gig. Now, it may help to keep the voice that little bit more buoyant. I would apply 1% benefit to a product like this, or Entertainer's Secret, or Vocal, the 5 Vocal Tea. There is about 1% benefit. You know, 1%, that's helpful. In a game of 100%, it's not all that big. The numbers don't lie. The biggest benefit that gentleman was going to get was going to be from doing a disciplined warm-up that he should have been doing for the previous, I don't know how long, how many ever years that he'd been singing. I think he'd been singing for quite some time. And then learning to manage his voice because it wasn't in good condition by virtue of the flu. And so he had a gig that he absolutely had to do. So learning to manage his voice through that gig. And I had to say to him, look, by all means, you can purchase the product. That's fine, you know. But I'm not into snake oil. I'm not into trying to sell people product that is just not going to do any benefit. And I said, really, your bigger benefit is going to come from you having some vocal rest over the next 48 hours in the lead up to the gig. And then actually my advice would be that if you are in real significant dire straits, to seriously consider cancelling the gig, which of course no one ever wants to hear, and then to think about, okay, well, then we might think about using a product to sort of get ourselves through. And certainly products like these two, and I've just got another product which I forgot to get down. This is also a great product. This is called Propolis. In fact, let's go through a few of these and I'll tell you what benefit you're going to get from them if you do choose to use them. Of course, you don't have to only get them online with me. You can get them, you know, from a whole range of different people. But if you want to support the channel and you want to buy some product, then I would love it if you bought it through myself, and we ship internationally, etc. But so Propolis lozenges, let me tell you, singers should not be using soothers, buttermenthol, Sepracol, strepsils, Difflam lozenges. I'm sorry if these are all Australian labels, basically any lozenge that where its main ingredient is either menthol or some other type of anesthetic value, then you should not be singing with those. These, on the other hand, the reason being is you don't want to be putting your voice to sleep while you are singing. That's a bit like trying to play lead guitar with woolen mittens on. The dexterity, the tone, everything is going to be all turned off because you've put everything to sleep. Yes, you won't have any more pain, but your pain reception is there for a reason. And we want to make sure that you are aware while you sing, that you're not completely turning that off. The great thing about the original Comvita Propolis lozenges, which is the one that I stock, and these ones are actually imported from New Zealand, and this is a great, based on Manuka honey, which is the world's sort of premium honey. Propolis is a beehive extract, and the bees produce propolis as an anesthetic for their hive. And so the great thing about them is they are very soothing because they're derived from honey, but they're not turning everything off. And these internationally are known as the singer's lozenge. Yeah? You do have to be careful how many you have in one day, and I would recommend only having maximum 5 or 6 in a day because they can actually behave in a bit like a laxative, and you don't want to be running off stage if you've got those. Now, for those of you who are subscribed to the channel, to subscribe to my newsletter via my website, there was a coupon on the newsletter for you to get 2 of these, buy one, get one free during the month of June, if you're interested. So anyway, they're great. They're fantastic. And if you're doing a gig and you're not feeling 100%, then I would be taking, and you're a bit fluey, so with the cold and flu, then having maybe one of these before you do a warm-up, having another one between the warm-up and the gig, and then maybe one between each set, that's a really good thing to do, and your voice will feel really good after having done that. Throat coat is a great product to have probably as a cup of tea between a warm-up, sound check, and then going into the gig. Throat coat, as I said before, one of its main ingredients is slippery elm, and so it is going to help reduce any sense of swelling. And this is a product I think many of you would be familiar with. So that's a really good thing, and it's and of course also with it being a medicinal tea, you're also getting some hydration from that as well. Entertainer's Secret, a number of people have sort of gone off Entertainer's Secret over the last couple of years. I still stock it. I find it to be a great product, and some of the recent studies have suggested that it's more of a placebo than anything. What it does, I encourage people to actually squirt it up their nose and breathe it in, and it actually creates a mucosal layer, which is really kind of helpful, and it can have kind of a soothing effect. Even if it is a placebo, I've got a number of students who swear by it. They love this product, and that's again something that you would have before you start gigging. There's the other type of tea, and the 5 you'd use in the same way as throat coat. Of course, again, none of these are silver bullets, right? And I said to this gentleman, you've got to make sure that you are not, using any of these products in a way that suggests, okay, if I just pop this pill, if I just drink this tea, if I just squirt this stuff up my nose, it'll all be rosy. It's not going to be like that. And even when you use these products, if you are singing when you are sick, your voice is still at risk of wear and tear and, unfortunately, some damage. And then finally, this is the product that all of you should own, a vapor inhaler. Yeah? And I know many of you have already bought one of these off the channel, off my online store. You can't. I don't think you can get these OS. I think these are Australian only products, so you do sort of have to buy them online with me if you're OS. Basically, I'll pull it apart for you. It's actually got two things that goes in there like that. And this is just an outer sleeve to help you be able to hold it. And you fill it half with boiling water and half with hot whilst it's still in there. And then you simply pop that on and you basically just breathe on it. And I refer to this as the singer's bong, because it kind of looks a bit like a, not that Daniel would know what a bong is. Anyway, so you're just breathing on the steam. Now, it's really important. Let me state this, and I don't think I've been clear enough in some previous videos where I've talked about this product. Let me be really clear. Do not use this before you sing. You can certainly, if you had a gig in the evening, you could do this in the morning so that you've got plenty of separation time between doing the gig and what have you. You would do this then, but don't do it before you warm up. Don't do it before you do a sound check. Do this after you have sung. If you do it immediately before singing, it is so effective in encouraging blood flow that you do run the risk, it heightens the risk of vocal fold hemorrhage. So be really careful with that. Only use it after, and you will possibly be amazed at how beneficial this is to the health of your voice. And for those of you who may be interested enough to go across to my channel, across to my online store, I've put a link in below. There is a video on the page that this is sold on, and I'd encourage you to all have a watch of that if you haven't already, for some more information, because, for example, it comes with a little vial of eucalyptus oil. You don't need that. Don't use that. Just throw it aside. Only the water and so that just the hydration of the steam and the warmth is going to do the business. So really, this is, if you don't put anything else in your vocal kit, this is the one thing that every singer, I tour with this. When I travel, in August, I'm going to Stockholm to present on voice. I will travel with a vapor inhaler. It's a little bit bulky, but the benefits, especially after having been in a plane and dry air and all of that, fantastic. So yeah, I thought we would go through that today because, I have over the years received a lot of those types of phone calls. Quick, I need a quick fix. There is no quick fix, people. This singing thing is a long burn journey, and I know that doesn't resonate with, modern mindset where we want everything yesterday and, immediate gratification seems to be the flavor of the day. If that's what you're looking for, I'm not the person to come to. I am a great believer in, doing the hard yards, putting in the work, doing the technical work out of your voice over a long period. These products, they will supplement. They will help to keep your voice buoyant. But if your voice is not built on a sure foundation of technique, then you're in a real doo-doo spot. Because I said to a client in the last couple of weeks, in many respects, technique doesn't come into its own until you're not 100% vocally, in vocal condition. Because, here's the deal. When I was professionally singing, like full on and only professionally singing, mostly not doing mostly teaching as I do now, I reckon, you could count on 1-2 hands in a year when the voice was cracking, and it was just, it didn't matter what I sang, it just all happened, and the voice felt great, and it was, they're the moments that keep you coming back. For the rest of the time, my voice, maybe 80%, 85%, they're the moments when technique has to be there. If the technique is not there, what do you call on? Because your voice doesn't feel great. Are you just going to give a really poor performance every time your voice doesn't feel great? It's at those moments that you need to call upon technique. And then when you've got that technique sitting there, adding these 1%ers of, throat sprays and lozenges, and this is not a supplement, this is a must. You must have one of these. But the teas and all that sort of stuff, they're just complementary to what should be your staple existence of good technique, good practices such as great technical workout and warm up, remaining hydrated, all of these things that I think many of us here on the Voice Essentials, in the Voice Essentials community, are very well aware of, because I do tend to go on about it infinitum, as do many great pedagogues, not only here on YouTube but across the world. So there you go. I hope that has been a helpful little discussion and perhaps reminder of what we've got going on. Let's jump over here and see what sort of questions we've got. Now, I did promise, and it's good to see Me Tutu is actually one of my students from the US. Matthew Shane, good to have you along, mate. And he, in fact, has got the first question. And it's right here. If I can just highlight it for everyone. Got a question for you. My throat muscles seem sore after this week's routine. Is that normal? So, for those of you who don't know, in fact, none of you know this. This will be news to everyone. Shane and I have only had, I think, Shane, we've had 2 or 3 lessons, 2 lessons. Anyway, we haven't had a lot. We've only just started, really. And this is not an unusual thing. As you start on your vocal development journey, you've got to remember, at a muscular level, we are exercising muscle. And so the muscles are starting to be worked, yeah? We are starting to place extra load. And the way I teach is designed to, every time I see my students for the next lesson, I increase the load. And then we increase the load. And well, before you know it, you're singing for 50 minutes or an hour, and your voice is able to take it. It's when you go from doing nothing to singing an hour in one hit, that's when you're going to run into trouble. So Shane and everyone, don't ever discount the fact that your muscles will fatigue. Learn to distinguish between what is fatigue and what is vocal soreness. We never want your voice to be sore, but certainly your muscles should feel a sense of fatigue after use, because they're muscles and they do tire with use. If, of course, Shane, you're getting to the end of your workout and you're really feeling, oh, this is not right, then I would encourage you to stop for that particular practice, step away and just work through, some of the stuff. Take a break, I should say, 24 hours break, come back to it and try it again. Maybe it was that your alignment wasn't right that particular day or whatever. Maybe your vocal load in the lead up throughout the day, in the lead up to your practice during an evening, maybe that was higher. And then, of course, in our case, Shane, you and I are going to be able to talk about it one-on-one when we have our individual lesson, and we'll be able to talk about it if you're not coming to any sort of happy resolve with that. So I hope that helps. Coming down here, Telegram Sam, I had wondered where you'd got to. Sam, I was actually thinking about you last week and wondered, where did Sam get to? Now I know, you're back. Good to see. Okay. And we, of course, have just said, talk to Osgray. Make sure you're letting us all know where you're from, what the time is in your part of the world. Back up here, was it Sarah G? It's 12 a.m. Monday here. Sarah, remind us where you're from. I can't remember. Is it Philippines for you or Singapore? I can't remember exactly where you were from. Really nice sentiments and thoughts there, everyone, towards Osgray. Cincinnati, 12:01. Well, welcome to Monday. Missouri, it's good to have you join us, in the 5th of June. Okay, we're coming down here now. Remember, write your questions down. We're going to spend the next few moments together talking through some good questions. And a hot day in Midwest USA. Denise, I bet it is getting hot. When I was up. For those of you who have just joined, let me show you the photos of the weekend that I just had. And so these are photos of a father and son camp that I spent with my boy Jaden during the weekend. Now, look at how gorgeous that looks. Can I tell you, see how choppy the surf is when it comes back? That's because it was blowing a gale. Like, it was so blowy, and look, not freezing, but it was cold because the wind chill was right up there. And we had a lot of yes, I was really quite rugged up. Not when we got to the top. You can see my boy's got his thing on there, his jumper around his waist, because climbing to the top of those dunes, it was really quite something. Anyway, so let us know where you're from and what the temperature is. Osgray says here, I found the best way for me to, let me bring you all across. Apologies. I found the best way for me is to drink lots of water and keep quiet, as I always have every second day as I rest, as I do classic heavy metal like Judas Priest. Osgray, great thoughts there. Hydration is so important. That should be habitual. And dependent on your level of load, make sure you are resting. Make sure your vocal rest is in keeping with the type of loads that you place the voice under. A vocal rest can avoid all sorts of massive issues for singers. And yeah, good to see Linda back, another one of my private students from Tasmania, and good to see her joining in. Mish, if I think Mish is one of my other students. I've got a lot of students clicking in here today. Good to see you all. So Telegram Sam writes here, here's my question. Could you demonstrate a well-sung top note as opposed to an overly driven one? Oh, perhaps discussing how the sensation should feel when singing a top note. Gee, that's a great question. Okay, let's see if we can show, and I hope I don't do our microphone any disservice here. Can I jump over here? Let me jump over here. And so, if I was to do a well-sung top note, let's see if I can grab I need to actually, how am I going to be able to get the note here? Hang on. Yeah, so that was an F, everyone. Yeah, go up there. So if I sing, yeah, that's in full voice. Yeah, you can see when I went to change then and go to more of a upper register, sort of almost a falsetto sound, the voice kind of went, oh, hang on a second, and it had to find its place. So, yeah, 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 yeah. So that's more in a falsetto with just a slight amount of twang in there. Whereas the same note, if it's full-bodied and I'm thinking about my alignment at the same time, yeah, and I'm blowing everyone's head off with that note. Let me just bring the recording back there. Yeah, and so that note there, that's a C sharp, a C sharp 6, C sharp 5, C sharp 6. That was not a C sharp 6, a C sharp 5, which is still quite a high note for a male. But as you all know, and many of you who subscribe to the channel, you already know that I've got a high voice. So, that's not something that you should just naturally be able to do unless you've got a natural anatomy that allows you to do that. And then if you go to, yeah, with my voice, I've got to really, it's actually easier for me to sing, yeah, to sing it in full voice than it is to sing it in falsetto, and that's just a part of my vocal mechanism. Many of you, for those of you who want to go into those upper reaches of your voice, you will find it far easier to start in falsetto. For me, I actually have to work on my falsetto because my voice wants to too easily go into that sort of big, full-bodied note. And so I'm hoping, Sam, that answers your question. Don't hesitate to clarify if if I haven't answered that like you'd like. I just want to go back here. Could you demonstrate a well-sung top note as opposed to any overly driven, an overly driven one? Oh, so if I go, yeah, and an overly driven one would be, yeah, you can hear my voice starts to compress and I get that sort of tension. Certainly I can feel it just becomes really tight, and I'm not, whilst I've got a number of students that do vocal distortion, it's not something that my voice is naturally given to, so I won't try to display that for you, but hopefully that is helpful to you. Okay, was that the throat coat tea? This is Binky Barnes down here. G'day, Binky. Love these handles on YouTube. Yes, it is. There it is, throat coat tea that I sell. Oh, I see. Singwise, Karen, nice to have you join us. Karen is a good friend, and you can jump across and check out her channel, Singwise Vocals, and good to have you all here. Osgray is asking a second question. Make sure you're asking your questions here. Oh, Kevtran, you've made it as well. Good to see you. How can I strengthen my head voice? When I was 15, it used to be so strong. Then after a cold, I've never been able to have it last too long. Osgray, if that's the case, given that you've nominated that it was after a cold at the age of 15, I would be given to, after spending a bit of time with you one-on-one, I would probably, if I was concerned that there was an issue there at a pathology level, I'd be sending you to an ENT to have it checked out. Is there something, unbeknownst there? Equally, it could be just that, you've gone through your voice mutation of puberty, and the voice is no longer behaving in the manner that you once expected it to, which is very natural because puberty does all sorts of wonderful things to the human body, and so you may find that as well. That's a very specific question to you, Osgray, and it would be hard to answer that beyond. Let me just turn this back up. Beyond that. Brilliant answer. Thanks, Sam. I'm glad that answered your question. We've only got time for one or two more questions. Cockney Rebel, good to have you join us. I'm a bloke, naturally a baritone, and I sing in soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Choir, okay, an SATB choir. And I love singing in our soprano section using my falsetto range. That's cool. And that would add a completely different shade or dynamic, registrational dynamic to the choir, and if your choir director thinks that's a good thing, then I would dare say for certain songs that's going to be really beneficial to the overall colour of the sound. I would be encouraging you, Cockney Rebel, to balance that out against making sure you continue to use your other registration. Remembering that, just like I was showing you with my falsetto range, I have to really work hard on my falsetto to get it to be well managed, because my voice all too easily wants to do big full-bodied notes at the top of my range. So in order to make sure I continue to maintain my choice across my voice, I've got to continue to really workshop the sound across the whole part there. So be careful with that. And for the most part, that's perfectly comfortable. Okay. I think I've answered your question, Cockney. Is it safe? Everything in moderation, Cockney. Everything in moderation. Be moderate, and just make sure you then balance the mechanism out by using lower formed musculature, and hopefully that's helpful. Can you demonstrate twang on an open vowel holding the note? Yes, I can, Shane, and we're going. After Shane's question, I'm under. This is just here, me too, which is another great name. So me too, Shane. This would be an open note with twang. So we'd just say we do ya, ya. Now, if I take the twang away, ya, you can hear how the sound just broadens out. Ya. And that clear, focused resonance. In fact, do I have it still? It's actually written on the board. I wonder if I can see, whether you can see it. No, you can't. I'll see if we can. No, it's not. It's going to be too hard to do that. It's actually written on the board behind me. Clear, focused resonance is how I define twang. And twang is not registrationally specific, and so you're able to use twang throughout your entire voice, but it gives that clear, focused resonance, yeah? Notice it's got nothing to do with nasality, and we will. I keep saying we're going to talk about twang in more depth. I will make a note and we'll talk about twang maybe next week. And we'll talk about it more specifically, Shane. But again, you got a lot of questions that we're going to be able to hopefully answer during our next private one-on-one lesson. Okay, here we go. One more question. Cockney Rebel, don't think of it as a curse. Many of us women, Karen, many of us women folk love a nice baritone voice. Oh, there you go, Cockney. There we go. Just be careful. She's a married woman, okay? So no funny business on the Voice Essentials channel. Okay, is there a possibility to sing higher than F to G above high male C in the head voice? Well, Fabian, I'm going to give you the last question because, in fact, the answer to that is coming up in this week's pre-recorded video, which goes live on Thursday at 5 a.m. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you receive notification for that. Because we are going to be looking at whistle tone notes. And without giving anything away, I'll just say, I think the answer to your question, Fabian, may in fact be in that video because yes, there is a possibility to sing up there in whistle register. The question is, can everybody sing in whistle register? I'm not going to tell you the answer to that. You'll have to watch Thursday's video and hopefully you'll find that quite enjoyable. Make sure you like and share the video. And the channel is going great guns at the moment, all because of you guys. You've been so supportive and I want to say thank you. You know, I really do. I actually really look forward, especially to our live hangouts, because I know I'm always hanging out with the same group, and it's you guys that regularly chime into my live essentials, and we really do have a community here, and I love the support that not only are you showing me, but you're showing each other and answering each other's questions in the live feed. And so thanks very much for being such a proactive group. Again, if you haven't subscribed before, we would love for you to join this proactive, enjoyable, fun-filled, encouraging group because we would love to count you amongst our ever-growing numbers. But until I see you in the next Voice Essentials video, which will be hopefully on Thursday when I see you all again in the pre-recorded video about whistle tone, then what do I normally say? For those of you who watch my videos long enough, let's see if any of you will jump in onto the chat section. For those of you who have been on the channel long enough, come on in the chat. I think the chat section must be a little bit behind. I always say at the end of my videos, I'm Dr. Dan. No, I can't wait any longer. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.